Hey guys, what's up? It's Wednesday evening and just taking tonight's little chore break to bring you some thoughts about our current state of affairs in food sovereignty and farming and agriculture. And these thoughts come at you from a reaction of many farmers to Sonny Perdue's, who is our current U.S. Secretary of Agriculture's comments made today at a farm convention in Wisconsin, of which he said, in response to a farmer's question, basically, we're not really in this to give any assurance to the small guys. This is America. The big farms get bigger and small farms cease to exist. Of course, the room kind of gasped for air, and you could just tell there were a lot of hearts laying on the floor. Because in the world of farming, a lot of us have put all of our chips in the middle to depend on the government to save us, and I don't know why, but the best comment heard in reply to this was those cool little signs we all see along the side of the road that say, "One farmer feeds 128 people plus you," aren't aware of the 228 taxpayers' money that it takes in government subsidies it takes to feed the farmer. And that's the sad and unfortunate truth of where we are right now, because the big farms, the only thing that the big farms and the small farms have in common right now is neither one of them are making it. The small farms just have a whole lot less stress on their shoulders because all that big equipment that they got, they don't own that, the bank does. And right now, while interest rates are low and things are okay, yeah, you may not have much stress on your shoulders, but when all that changes and we're all kind of sitting here waiting because the USDA purposefully put out some wrong numbers in the spring to limp across the trade deal and the miscalculated number of acres that were unplanted because of the horrible weather we had this spring. Now we're sitting here with our hands under our butts trying to figure out how we're going to make our way out of this. And I started thinking yesterday as I was walking through my grandfather's farm that was built at the turn of the century, and as many farms around here, I love to walk around them and think about what life was like back then. Of course, in those days, we had pretty close to 55% of the American population invested in some way, shape, or form in the agrarian lifestyle. And today, we're at a sad state of 1.2%. So 1.2% of our country is feeding everybody else. How in the hell are we supposed to fight a revolution of any sort if we can't even feed ourselves? Which was, I mean, it made me think every farm in those days, their first priority was to feed their household. They had fruit trees, they had a vegetable garden, they had meat, they had chickens, they had eggs, they had, you know, some wheat that they could grind into flour, and they had a lot of people to help with jobs and chores around the house. Everybody had responsibility and focus and purpose in their life. And today we don't, in America's youth, is part of the reason why they're so preoccupied and stressed out, and because that purpose is not really there anymore. You can't really, the only thing you can do is try to band-aid it with technology and when you live the suburban lifestyle, or try to keep them busy with athletics. But the fact of the matter is the soil is crying out to us to come back to it. And that's why droves, thousands and thousands of people are wiping their butts with their liberal arts degree. They're leaving the cities and they're coming back to 10, 20, 40, 80 acre little farmsteads. And they're figuring out how to raise food on a small scale. And they're using several principles that those farms from the early 1900s had, which was figure out how to feed yourself, figure out how to become self-sufficient, and stop basing your success on how can I do more with more. And it should be how can I do more with less. And what I mean by that is when we went into the age of industrialization and mechanization and everything became how can I farm more acres with more horsepower? How can I have more tractors to farm more acres? And that was what led us to this trap of dependence, because now where everything all the farms, everything went down the road of specialization. And we went away from diversity, which was what made us strong. And all small towns and small farms were like that. Small farms were diverse, and now they're specialized. Whereas if that one thing that you do doesn't come through, you're done. And then what happens? The big farms get bigger. Diverse farms don't really exist anymore. Until now, where these thousands of people that remember what this lifestyle was like are coming back to it. And the other thought of it is, how can I do more with less? You know, just today I was looking at trying to pay a bill for a neighbor that helped me out with some hay stuff. And when I was thinking about that bill, that money that I was gonna pay him for him helping me put up hay, part of me, I had a thought in my head, and I carefully examined the thought of, man, instead of paying my neighbor these thousands of dollars to come put up hay for me, why don't I just invest that money in my own equipment and become, you know, put my dependence on my own equipment? And then I started to think, well, how can I do more with less? How can I figure out how to break my dependence of even needing hay in the winter and raise the productivity of my own land to have more perennial forage and to extend the grazing season on both sides so that I don't have to invest in equipment? And I caught myself and I wondered, okay, well, how many other neighbors went down this road? Or how many other farmers made the thought of, how can I buy bigger equipment to farm more acres and make more of a profit? And that was a terrifying thought, because now we all are watching the state of farms where the average age is now almost 55 years old. And the amount of farms we have are super small, and farms aren't being handed over to the next in line, and they haven't been for two generations now. And my curiosity is, for those of you wondering what that farting sound is behind me, that's a waterer, not my chickens, just so you know. The big farm's getting bigger. Like, we all know where this is going from here. What is gonna happen with the age of automation, probably 10 to 15 years away, a guesstimate. What's gonna end up happening is all this farmland that we have now, if we continue down this road of annual grain cash crop dependence, and in the beef industry or chicken industry, the continuation of the confinement operation, it's just going to end up in an automated, industrialized, big corporate owned entity that is all the machinery is run by automation and satellites, almost like it is right now. Farmers are just helping train the systems. They're helping lead it in, and farmers aren't going to exist. And that's the unfortunate, inevitable truth coming. Our only hope for this, to you, Mr. Secretary of Agriculture, our only hope out of this, because if you look across the section, not just in farming, but I'm going to talk in education and in medicine, guess what? Those people in medicine that we send our best and brightest off to, and this is a comment made by Bill Johnston, you know, 30 years ago when we started the big go to college push and make something of yourself and don't stay on the family farm, and I ran myself right into this trap too of, you know, we send our best and brightest off to go be lawyers to help defend the corrupt in Washington and to cover things up and make money for more regulations, and then we send the rest of them off to be doctors to learn how to manage symptoms so that they can have patients come in their door and give them a special pill to make their symptoms go away so they can continue leading a life of hedonism. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's pleasure without consequence. All of these diseases that the people in Western medicine are fighting right now are all food-based. Why don't we understand that? We quit taking care of ourselves. All these physical therapists that go out to these people and visit their homes and nursing homes are working with these old people that saved up all this money for retirement, and what are they doing? They're trying to help give them some sort of quality of life to the end of their life, and they're making them do exercises that we traded off and compromised that convenience so that we could have things easier. We wanted machines to keep doing the job for us, and it just continued and continued, and now we're at a point where we're backtracking because we don't have physical activity in our lifestyles anymore, and we're out of shape, and we don't move around very much, and we sure don't have quality time spent with each other because of these like this device I'm holding in my hand right now. We let this thing rule us, and technology has unfortunately become our god. There was a point where I don't think it was, because we weren't fully dependent on it, but there's no doubt. We are both dependent on government to come bail us out and save us from everything from agriculture to health to education, and all we want to do is think we can make change every 4 years for who we vote for. Friends, I'm here to tell you, if you're waiting every 4 years to make change, you got a sad reality coming to you. You can make change every day. You know, it may sound like a drastic comment, but when they freed the slaves, most of them didn't want to leave to go back to a life, because they knew that a life of liberty and freedom is hard work and making it for yourself. Most entrepreneurs out there know this, but everybody that's not an entrepreneur may not know what this experience in life is like. Most of them wanted to stay on the plantations because they knew that they'd be taken care of some sort, even though their freedom and their liberty was in jeopardy. And most Americans and farmers, some farmers, are in the same boat. And it's a scary thought. So our only way out of this are self-sufficient, small-scale farms. And guess what's going to happen if most of us go back to that? Booming small towns come back. That's what America was like when it was at its best. That was when we were at its strongest. And now that we are at our weakest, our undoubtedly not our worst, I'm sure it can always go down from here, but we're not headed in the right direction, and I know we all know it. And if there's a small part of your brain that's saying, yeah, he's right, and you continue in the same direction, I'm pretty sure that could be the definition of insanity. Maybe an alternate definition. Anyway, I mean, not for these things to depress you, but just to wake you up and make you think a little bit. I gotta continue on my chore routine and go milk a cow and put some chickens in. But I just want to tell you all I love you, and I'm rooting for you, and I hope we all make it together, because that's what it's gonna take. It's gonna take all of us. Anyway, love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.